Hi Mrs. Rizzo, are you ready for your post-observation meeting? Can Mrs. Turtle and I talk about your performance review? We have some things we would really like to talk to you about.
Sure, let's get this over with. These are such a formality anyways. I don't get why you bother with these meetings. Can't you just email it to me?
Remember that this system we have at Cougar Valley is to help evaluate our teaching staff. It is designed to help gauge our teachers and create plans for improvement in instruction.
I have some feedback I would like to share with you from your formal observation. I would like to thank you for being a consistent teacher. We appreciate the time you put in with the book club after school.
Yeah, thanks. The book club position has such a great stipend. Without it, I would never get to go on my vacation next week. By the way, I am going to need a sub for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Oh my, we will discuss that later. I have some areas of growth for you that you may need to consider. Using our evaluation system that is based off of the Danielson model, I have observed some very important areas of growth. The evidence gathered has left you with a rating of unsatisfactory in 2C, managing classroom procedures, and 2D, managing student behavior.
Serious? Unsatisfactory? That's impossible. You just said those nice things about me. Come on, Mr. Belding, Mrs. Turtle, you know how these kids are. How can you say that? I am not unsatisfactory. These kids are unsatisfactory.
That wasn't the only thing that was a concern that Mrs. Turtle observed. She was also concerned about how you manage classroom procedures like setting expectations, monitoring student behaviors, and responding to student behavior. She recorded that half of your lesson was spent on responding to student misbehavior. For example, you had to remind students to stop talking and re-explain directions.
That was just one lesson. I was doing my job redirecting them, wasn't I? Why am I responsible for these kids' behaviors? I don't raise them.
When I was observing your lesson, Mrs. Rizzo, I noticed a lack of evidence that you promote classroom routines and procedures to maximize instruction. There were very few, if any, indicators of an effective classroom environment. During your science lesson, I noticed that your students struggled with transitions from group work to independent work. You had to redirect students more than once when students...
We understand your frustration. Let's work through this together. Of course, I don't want you to be an unsatisfactory teacher, so to improve your rating, we will support you with coaching opportunities to improve your ratings in Danielson 2C and 2D.
You seen their behavior, not mine. Why am I unsatisfactory if they cannot handle themselves?
Mr. Belding and I have some goals that would help improve your teaching. This will all be outlined in your post-observation documents. The goals for Domain 2C are as follows. By the end of the second quarter, you will create clear procedures for transitions to reduce loss of instructional time. You will need to establish procedures to collect materials when working in small groups. Lastly, you need to establish procedures and expectations for cooperative learning activities. You will work closely with Mr. Slater. He will be your mentor teacher through this remediation process. You will observe his class and he will help with improving your transitions. Mr. Belding found some journals for Rio to read to as well. We expect you to give us some feedback by the end of the third quarter.
Oh, come on, Mrs. Turtle and Mr. Belding, I need to observe and be observed by Mr. Slater? I am a better teacher than that. Do I really need to read articles? You're giving me homework? Seriously? Why would I do homework if my students don't do their homework? Don't waste my time, please.
Mrs. Rizzo, please understand all this is an opportunity for you to improve as a teacher. We still need to discuss how you manage student behavior. That falls under Danielson 2D. From my observation, you really struggled with student behavior.
Well, I don't know. I thought it went well. You seen that and you didn't say anything? Come on, Mrs. Turtle, I thought you were on my side. It's these kids, I'm telling you. Mrs. Rizzo, remember that I am an observer. I was watching how the students responded to you as a teacher. What concerns me is that they would act that way even when I'm in the room. It was telling that you are struggling managing their behavior. I also noticed the male students were off task a total of 7 times. You stopped your lesson 3 times to redirect. Yet when a female student was clicking her pen a total of 12 times, you stopped your lesson every time. I noticed a clear lack of a behavior management system implemented in your class. Let me guess? Another action plan, right? Great, by the time I get these implemented, these kids will be gone. It's just a bad class. Can't you look at my lab?
We do have an action plan for this as well. You need to keep a positive mindset. We believe you need balance as a teacher. We want to support your growth so you can be the super teacher we need you to be.
Great, what do I need to do now? Spend more time with Mr. Slater? My husband won't enjoy that news. Breck and Jensen explained that using teamwork is a good way to approach a subject in a new and different way. We maintain student interest, allowing room for creativity, critical thinking and communicating for effective content. Working with others is a great way for you to improve in the domains we identified that you have a deficiency in.
As for the action plan for managing student behavior, we have a few goals and action steps for you to follow. You will need to establish an organized behavior management plan that includes both visible, student-created expectations and clear, consistent consequences for misbehavior. And by the end of the 3rd quarter, you need to improve your responsiveness to student misbehavior by 40%.
So what are you really telling me? I have to do more work? Come on, Mrs. Turtle. I already have my hands full.
Mrs. Turtle and I believe that you and your students would greatly benefit that you follow these steps. We already signed you and Mr. Slater up for professional development on behavior management. You will work with him and observe how he is using his behavior management system. You will then develop or adopt a SITEM for yourself. Mr. Slater will observe your class, making sure to focus on how you set expectations, assign consequences and model proper behavior. Mr. Slater will discuss with you the appropriate response to misbehaviors. He will observe your class and help you keep track of misbehavior and how you respond to them. You will have a final observation at the end of the 3rd quarter to see how you have grown.
You two really put a lot of thought into this. You really think all this is necessary? Do I have to start this now? Remember, I have my vacation next week.
This remediation plan gives you the best opportunity to improve. Being unsatisfactory requires us to find a teacher that is capable of teaching our students.
We believe in you. We would not do all this just because we are required under Illinois school code. You can be an awesome teacher if you commit to the plan. We will be here to support you in any way the district and union allows us to.